At the Copenhagen Ironman this year, Khoo broke the Singapore Full Ironman record with a super fast time of 9 hours and 2 minutes. So in this video, I'm going to show you what his training plan was. I asked Ben for his permission to stalk his strava, and I recorded down all his activities for 12 weeks. So even though his full Ironman training officially started 12 weeks before the race, Ben did not start from scratch. On a normal week, he still does crazy high mileage. Just for some context, Ben is a national triathlete. His 5k is comfortably below 17 minutes, while my 5k personal best is still 17 minutes and 18 seconds. So I get really inspired by what Ben does, so that's why we're gonna take a look at his training plan. So let's jump into the Excel sheet and we'll continue from there. So here's a spreadsheet. As we look at his hours per week, we can see that he reduced his hours to get rid of fatigue before he smashes himself with 9 weeks of training and 3 weeks of tapering at the end before his race. By the way, I'm not going to explain every single workout in the video as it will take too long, so I'm only going to talk about the main things I observe in his training and what you can learn from. So if you are planning your own Ironman training and want to view this in more detail, I'll put a downloadable link in the description. I also shortened a few rows so everything can be seen. On the left, we have the weeks and also the hours of training each week. As you can see, for the first 9 weeks of hardcore training, the shortest week was 16.5 hours and the longest week was 21.5 hours. So that means his shortest week is already about 5 hours longer than my average week. Anyway, he told me in these two 16-hour weeks, he skipped the long ride and swim on the first week because he had a 10k race and another 2 sessions in the next week. So that means those 2 weeks should have been 18 to 20 hour weeks instead. As you can see, he trains almost twice every day, before and after work, and if you take any week, he does double sessions for 6 hours 7 days a week. So Ironman racing is not only tough in itself, but the amount of training is tremendous too. So if your goal is to race an Ironman without walking the marathon, you can probably expect to be doing 18 to 22 hour weeks, and you'll likely need to do double session days on most days of the week as well. Alright, so what does he do each week for swim, bike and run? We can see that almost every week is similar, with an exception of switching some workouts between days. Let's start with Monday. He has a sprint swim in the morning and an easy bike in the evening. For the sprint swim, it's usually a couple of 50-meter intervals and 100-meter intervals. And then in the evening, it's about 45 minutes to an hour 15 minutes of easy cycling. On Tuesday, he starts off the day with a race pace bike interval session. For example, 2 times 30 minutes at 200 watts. Let's see another day, 110 minutes at 210 watts. And then in the evening, he does a speed run, for example 9 times 600 meters or even 4 times 2 kilometers. On Wednesday morning, he does a race pace swim, so for example 8 times 200 meters at race pace, maybe another one 6 times 300 meters at race pace, and even up to 4 times 800 meters at race pace. So in the evening, he does sprint bike intervals on Zwift, for example 3 times 8 times 40 seconds. What else? 6 times 3 minutes. On Thursday morning, he does VO2 bike interval sessions. So VO2 intervals are typically 1 minute to 6 minutes in length. For example, this 6 times 3 minute hills, or this 15 times 1 minute at 260 watts. And in the evening, he does a race pace effort run, for example 10k at 4:18 pace, or even 17k at 4:27 pace. On a Friday, he does a race pace swim in the morning. So for example 8 times 400 meters here, 5 times 600 meters here, 8 times 400 meters here, and an easy jog in the evening. So that's 40 minutes easy here, 1 hour jogging here, 25 minutes of jogging here. So on the weekend is where he typically does his longer sessions. For example, his long ride is on a Saturday morning. So for example 3 hours bike ride to 5 hours bike ride, and his longest bike ride is 5 hours and 15 minutes. Within that bike ride, there are also race pace intervals, for example 4 times 20 minutes at race pace. And in the evening, he usually does 5 to 10k of Ironman pace runs as well. Sunday morning is his long run, so from 30 km to 36 km. I think 36 km is his longest run. It's slightly slower than race pace. Even his longest run is 4:36 pace. And in the evening, that would be his easy swim. So it could be 200 meters, 300 meters, or even 800 meters, but all at an easy pace. So that is essentially his whole Ironman week. So when I asked Ben why doesn't he do breaks, he said that that's unnecessary stress on the body and doesn't make him any fitter. Alright, so when you do 12 weeks straight build without rest weeks, your taper can start 3 weeks before the race. For Ben, his taper weeks are about 3/4 of his usual weeks, so about 14 and 15 hours instead of his normal weeks, which are 18 to 22 hours. And on race week itself, he did 11 hours. 9 of those hours are the Ironman itself, so actually he only did 3 hours of training that race week. I also noticed during the taper weeks, the workouts don't get any easier at all. Still the same repetitions and intensity, which means the only thing that is getting lesser is his easy mileage. Also notice on race week, his last hard run and hard swim was on Monday, and his last hard bike session was on a Thursday. Finally, during the race itself, his swim was at 131 pace, bike was 36.6 kilometers per hour, which was an average power of 186 watts, and ran a full marathon at 4 minutes and 22 pace. So even after a swim and bike, his full marathon is still faster than mine. Alright, so just a recap about the points we learned. We have to do very high mileage in a week. For example, Ben does 18 to 22 hours. That's probably a lot of double session days. He does 4 swims per week, 1 sprint, 2 at race pace, and the last one is an easy recovery swim. He does 5 bike sessions a week. The first one is a sprint, the second one is a VO2 type of effort. The third and fourth sessions are Ironman race pace, and one of it is within his long ride, and the last one is a recovery ride. He does 5 runs a week as well. 1 speed run, 2 runs at Ironman race pace. One of it is longer, around 17 kilometers. One of it is shorter at around 5 kilometers, and that is on the evening after his long bike ride. 4th run is his 30k long run on a Sunday, and the last one is an easy run. So that's 4 swims, 5 bikes, and 5 runs. Surprisingly, in his 12 weeks, Ben never does brick sessions, which means running off the bike except for twice, and one of it is his half Ironman race. So looking at this plan, I also learned that you really have to do a lot of race pace Ironman efforts. If we look at just how many Ironman race pace workouts he has, 2 for the swim, 2 for the bike, and 2 for the run. So that is 6 Ironman race pace efforts in a week already. So this gives you an idea about what it takes to do a 9-hour full Ironman. So if you want the training plan, you can download it in the link below. I edited the plan and added some workouts because Ben skipped about 4 workouts and also did a few races. So it is really inspiring that someone you know and train with can break the Singapore Full Ironman record. So if he can do it, maybe I can give it a shot too. I mean, not to break the Ironman record, but maybe do sub 10 hours. Anyway, for me, Ironman is way too expensive now. The registration alone is almost 1,000 Singapore dollars. So the total trip may be close to 2,000 or $2,500. So when I decide to do a full Ironman in the future, I'll probably watch this video again. This video will have 1 more extra view. So thank you guys for watching this far, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Goodbye. Do remember to subscribe and check out my other videos.